Now that we're a few weeks removed from the massive $418 million settlement by NAR, I think it's appropriate for us to actually look and see what actually changed for real estate agents. Now, we've done videos in the past addressing what some of the changes have been. We've also looked at what it could potentially look like in the future, but I haven't really given you a really good, crystal clear and concise video sharing exactly what is changing for you as a real estate agent. So that's what we're going to look at today, and let's work on that right now. So again, we're only looking at the things that are actually changing for real estate agents. If you're looking for the history, if you're looking for anything that has to do with how we got here and what the potential can look like, that's going to be the other videos. This is just going to be very quick, very tactical on what actually ended up changing with the NAR settlement. So the first thing is compensation through the MLS. Comp through MLS, that changed. You can't communicate what is being offered, if anything is being offered, through the MLS. So unilateral compensation is no longer a thing. So right now, if you log into your MLS, you're able to see how much compensation is going to the buyer's agent through the MLS. You're able to see this. That is going away by mid-July. Don't count on that field even being there, because that's actually a requirement in the proposed settlement. So again, that's something to make note of. If this is a proposed settlement, it's highly likely that's going to go through, but just know that it's still a proposed settlement. So some changes, some modifications can be happening along the way. But as of right now, that's what we're expecting, that the unilateral compensation and the way that it's written in the MLS, or you're able to see that in the MLS, is not going to be there. Now, I did make another video on showing you how to get around this. In other words, how to combat that in the new normal. And that the simple way is to put the offer of compensation on your website, not the MLS, on your website. So I'll link that video down below as well. And if I remember, I'll put it up on the card somewhere, but just be aware, on the MLS, you're not going to be able to see that. There's going to be other mechanisms that you're going to have to deploy in order to find if the listing is actually offering some sort of compensation. So that's something to make note of. So offer compensation on the MLS, gone. That is not going to be there for you. Now, something that did not change, a lot of folks are, this is really where a lot of agents that didn't necessarily know what the agreement said at the beginning of this whole thing kind of coming to fruition a few weeks ago, is that the buyer agent still gets paid. So this has not changed the form of which agents get paid. Yes, that has changed a little bit. So buyer agent still gets paid, right? There is essentially what's happened is the decoupling of the commission. So typically how real estate was being done right now is the listing agent contracts with the seller, or seller contracts with the listing agent is a better way of saying that. And then from that agreement, the listing agent shares a co-broke opportunity, so shares how much it's going to go to the buyer's agent. Now, that's something that the listing agent has been sharing since day one in terms of transparency to the homeowner, and the homeowner also has had the opportunity of negotiating how much they're willing to pay for that service that they're hiring the listing agent for. So that hasn't changed. So that is still one form of compensation that you can expect. The co-broke, except the only difference here is you're not able to see how much is being offered through the MLS itself. You either have to call, you have to text, you have to email, you have to go to their website and see what they're offering in terms of compensation, if they are offering some sort of compensation right out of the gate. So again, there's that co-broke, which is being done right now. That's what you're most familiar with. And you're also looking at per offer basis. So let's just say the listing that your client wants to see, it's 123 Main Street, and it doesn't say that they're offering any compensation. So with the offer that your client is making along with yourself, there is the opportunity of presenting it in the offer. So hey, I am offering you this amount, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, with the request that you do a seller rebate. I'm struggling with the word. Concession. There we go. Seller concession, paying my buyer's agent, right? So it's going to be offer by offer basis, house by house basis. Not everybody's going to be willing to do that, but that is something that is available. That is something that you still have the opportunity to present the offer and get paid from buyer's agent perspective in that respect. And then of course you have direct from the buyer themselves, right? So we're talking about how buyer agent gets compensated. So we have the traditional co-broke, you have the per offer basis, so per house basis, per listing basis that gets presented, and then the buyer themselves are paying you directly directly for the services. Now, something that is a huge thing that we need to be aware of and have a really good understanding of is the written agreement that is now required. Written agreement, which is essentially a buyer rep agreement. You have to get an executed written agreement with the buyer before you even show them their first house. So this is going to be what's going to be most disruptive for a lot of agents out there, because we're used to getting a call from Zillow, getting a call from our Facebook ads or whatever the case may be, and we hop on the road and we try to go and show that first house and just hopefully this buyer is going to work with me. Hopefully they end up buying. Hopefully I get paid and all that fun stuff. Well, now a lot of that hope goes away in terms of guessing if things are going to work out. You're going to know right up front, because if you're going to be working with a customer to become a client with any in order to convert customers into actual clients, you will need to get this written agreement executed. So you're going to know whether they're serious or not very, very quickly, because you have to get this executed at this point. Again, this is going to be the most disruptive part of your business altogether if you're primarily a buyer's agent, because you need to treat these types of clients, the buyer clients, you need to treat the buyers as serious as you have been treating the listings that you have, right? So a listing agreement, buyer's agreement, it makes sense. We've gotten away from that practice, and now we actually have to re-implement that into our business, because that's actually what needs to happen. So again, the written agreement, that's something that has changed. That is mandatory across all of the area now, and by mid-July we expect that to be baked into the cake, right? That's going to be part of your cost of doing business, or that's the process of doing business. Now, the fourth thing that I wanted to highlight here is you can't collect more than what you agreed to. So this written agreement is going to show your services, it's going to show how much you're charging for these services. It's going to be the transparency that consumers absolutely need. Can't agree with that anymore. Now, with that being said, if you agree to a whatever fee you end up charging, whether it's 2%, 3%, 4%, 1,000,000%, whatever it happens to be, or if there's the set fee, if the seller in this example, let's just say, let me show you. So you can't collect more than what you have written in stone, what you have in the agreement. So let's just say you did a buyer's agency for 2%. You contracted with the buyer. Hey, I'm going to help you. These are my services. This is how much I'm going to charge you. The event that the seller's not willing to pay me or willing to consider this compensation, that you're responsible for my services. Buyer's going to say, absolutely, perfect, great, glad to have you on board. Well, in the event that there is a co-broke, essentially from the listing agent, the seller, if they're offering compensation for the buyer's agent, in the event that this over here, they're offering 3%, the max that you can collect over here, the max is going to be 2%. You cannot go up. You can go down, but you cannot go up. So essentially, if you already contract, you can't even see this, right? Sorry, 2% over here. Pretend that I kind of missed the screen there. If you contract for 2% with your buyer and the listing is offering a 3%, then that difference between 3 and 2 obviously is 1. We know that. That is not yours. You can't go up on that. So just be aware of that. That's something that is was overlooked in the initial. I feel like a lot of folks were not talking about this, so we needed to bring that up, especially again with what has changed after a few weeks removed from the actual settlement, after reading the settlement, after doing all of the research that has been happening. I don't really see a lot of that language being presented to a lot of agents, so I just want to make sure that I address that. So again, The compensation on the MLS, that's going away. You will be needing, you're still going to get paid as a buyer's agent, but it's going to be decoupled, and there's going to be different ways that you're going to get compensated in that respect. You will need a written agreement with your buyer clients at this point, regardless, before you ever show them a house. And then, of course, you can't collect more than what you've already agreed to. That is what has actually changed. But let me know in the comment section down below, was there something that I missed? Happy to present a follow-up to this. Now, as things continue to move forward, there's going to be some things that are going to be added as more and more settlements continue to actually get settled, or lawsuits get settled. Then there's probably going to be some additional conditions that we as agents need to adapt to. But as those changes happen, make sure that you tune into this channel. Make sure that you subscribe on your way out, because I will be covering this to the best of my abilities for as long as we need to. All right, well, I'll see you in the next one.